You're listening to Parasearch Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Good evening and welcome to the Dark Mirror Show. My name is Kerry Greenaway and as always I'm joined
like a glove puppet
the studio by Mr. Mark Manley, Mr. Glove Puppet himself. Good evening, Mark.
Hello.
How are you? And Mr. Carl
Hello.
Hutchinson, who wasn't supposed to be here but is now here. And good evening, Carl.
Hello, and I'd just like to say, when you say glove puppet to Mr. Mark and he then produces something on the screen, that's not great radio. It's vocal, okay?
What you took, dude? That was for you two to see and nobody else. Shut your face. Right. After my daughter up.
Anyway,
ladies and gentlemen,
everybody.
Mr. Carl Hutchinson wants my 19-year-old daughter to do a dance for him just because she's just come out the bath.
Hush,
I'm going to slap him so hard his baseball cap and his titties spin. Right.
Well, as you can see tonight, this is how it's going to go. Anyway, we are also joined by Taylor May. Good evening.
Say hello.
Hello.
Shall I tell you what? All right like that, or do you want me to plug the headphones back in?
Oh, just do it like that.
We don't care.
We don't care. It's a Dark Mirror Show. Right, so the topic on the table tonight is mirrors. Do we like mirrors, everybody?
Only when I'm really shaving, really.
I mean, mirrors are all right, but they tend to make a lot of spelling mistakes on page 3.
And Mark, do you believe that if you have a mirror, you have that problem about cleaning stains off it?
Jesus Christ, you two. Really?
You clean in circles. If you clean mirrors, you clean in circles and it gets rid of the stains. There's no streaks if you do it.
No.
See, there's a
We
girl
like
for you.
this.
There's
We
a girl
like your
cleaning
style.
tip.
We like the style. Yes.
And use vinegar. Use vinegar-based products.
Okay,
No.
so what do we see when we look in the mirror?
I normally see some absolutely gorgeous middle-aged man who looks and goes, "Oh, it is," and then I realise it's not actually a mirror; it's a video link to Mr. Carl Hutchinson's house. So I turn that off and then go in the bathroom and look in the mirror, and then I just see some old bastard looking at me going, "Wanker." But go on.
Oh.
But then I personally, I have cameras around my house, and then all of a sudden I know Mark's having a little bit of a cheeky wink at me, and I just smile and wink, and then he just remembers that he's actually looking at himself, and he's not looking at the real reflection that is the true beauty of myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, according to
as you can see, we have gone off on a tangent already, everybody. Mirrors are ancient tools of viewing ourselves from a different perspective, and they are used very commonly in the paranormal field. And there's a whole mythology that surrounds mirrors, which no doubt we won't go into tonight because it is, after all, the Dark Mirror Show. But what do we make of we talk about scrying, we talk about using them in a devil's box. There's so many ways we can use them in the paranormal field. What is our proper perspective in regards to that side of things?
Well, me personally, I do get drawn both ways, really, because you have the normal mirror. Yes, Mark. Yes, whatever. Shut up. But what I'm going to say is I'm drawn two ways because you have two mirror styles that I've experienced. It's the normal mirror, and you look at the mirror and you look between the mirror and etc. And then you have the black mirror, which is like a mirror that is a black, which does not react the same as a normal mirror. And then you have that as a scrying. And it depends on which way you go, really.
Mark?
To be absolutely honest, I've never seen scrying done in front of me, but from what I know about olden times, the obsidian and the oil on the water and using black water and stuff like that. I mean, and Taylor also had a good thing to do with the cats, wasn't it? Go Ask a quick question.
Can I ask a quick question? For the people who don't know what scrying is, me being one of them, could I have a quick description of what it is?
The art of divination through the use of mirrors.
Is this when I do the? Is this when I do the? You know, the ticking mirror. Do I do the ticking mirror on that question?
Yeah.
Waiting for people to react.
Sorry? No, when you scry, it's about focusing without focusing. It's a form of taking yourself without, but within. So you're focusing your gaze on something, because some people can not meditate, right? So when you, because of the mind monkeys, so they sit down and they go into a meditative state, they just can't seem to do it. If you scry, it's the same sort of thing, but you're gazing your gaze on something, and you've got to shift your focus where you're focused but slightly unfocused.
Yeah.
And getting yourself into that mental state of beyond you and your day-to-day reality. So that's the basis of scrying. And you can, like I said, you could do it in many ways. Bowl of water, a mirror. You can do it with a candle. You can do it, with flame scrying is quite common. Smoke scrying is very common as well. Black obsidian, basic mirror, blah, blah, blah. Loads of different methods of scrying can be used to do it. But the point of it is, it's allowing your focus to focus beyond yourself. Now, mirrors in general, when we look in a mirror, it's reflective. So what you see in the mirror, how many times have you looked in the mirror and had, I'm having an ugly day? Your reflection is no different from any day, except your emotional status is being reflected back at you. So what you're seeing is actually a reflection of your emotional, psychological status at the time. So your personal appearance, nobody else would know it's any difference, but for you, it becomes a different perspective.
I like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I agree with you, Carrie, because at the end of the day, when you talk about that mentality, you are doing it in several different ways, and you go in those several different ways, and you just relax and you chill, whatever, and this, that, and the other, and you don't worry about what is being produced or what is happening in the mirror. But there's times at the end of the day you have a mirror over a bed. I know that sounds no. Okay. I know everybody's going to wet themselves laughing and go ooh bollocks, but I'm just talking about you do not. One thing that I've known in this whole worktop of religion, whatever you want to do, you do not basically point a mirror at your bed. In my eyes.
No, I agree.
Isn't that along the same lines of the old superstition of never having a bed facing a door or having the foot of the bed?
Correct. You do not paint your bed on a mirror so you have a reflection of you. Because the last thing you want to do, unless you're one kinky little...
It's the highest form of narcissism.
You don't want to be seeing your spotty little what's-it bobbing up and down.
If you're that minded that you love yourself and you love your body and all this, then that is the highest form of narcissism. So, the tale of Narcissus, where he saw his vision of his beauty in the water and couldn't stop gazing at himself to the point where he got drawn under the water and drowned, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in that perspective, I would say that's that pure form of narcissism, of loving yourself beyond. All you're seeing is physical beauty. You're not seeing beyond the physical.
No, I've stayed in. I've travelled the world. I've travelled the UK. I've travelled Europe. I've travelled elsewhere, and I've checked into rooms where I've then had to check out because of mirrors on the ceiling and mirrors in front. No. I'm being deadly serious.
Wow.
Exactly. But
He's got a sweet name for
No. Before you start taking them, whatever. But you have to be comfortable where you sleep.
Yeah.
Last time I'm comfortable when I get into a bed and I'm like in bed and then look up and I see myself. I'm not going to be sleeping. So I'm going to be changing rooms. And I've stayed in Vegas and I've stayed in mainly America, really, because they have this whole routine. And they have this things about mirrors pointing at your bed. I hate it. I can't stand it because I get spooked. I get uncomfortable when there's mirrors pointing at the bed. I stayed recently up in the Midlands at the White Swan in Henley and Arden. Amazing place. Completely active, whatever, if you like the paranormal wise. But they had this massive mirror right at the end of the bed and curving up towards the ceiling. So no matter whether you were into ghosts or whatever you're into, or spirits or whatever, you lay in bed, you're looking up, you're looking straight into this mirror, and it's just not right. Mirrors in bed is wrong.
But that's a reflection of what you see in the mirror. If you loved what you saw, then you wouldn't be minding that mirror on the wall or on the ceiling, correct?
No, I know. I love what I see. I love what I do. I'm quite happy at seeing what's on the mirror. I don't want to sleep there when I'm seeing that.
But this is taking it out of the paranormal. That's about your perception looking in the mirror. If you was completely comfortable with your body and you loved yourself that much, pure narcissist, you wouldn't mind. But then we take it into the paranormal field, that reflective ability of I mean, they're talked about as portals, aren't they? You know, portals into another world and all this.
Especially obsidian ones.
Obsidian comes actually from further back when mirror was invented. So any reflective surface, before any reflective surface was, like made like a mirror, that's actually quite a modern. I say modern.
It's not a modern thing. It's not. It is
relatively modern compared to like obsidian and water scrying and stuff like that. It's incredibly modern.
I've stayed in modern rooms where there is thing about the mirrors and the things on the ceiling or whatever, no matter what sort of kinky.
We need to get off the mirrors on the ceiling.
I'm just going to explain this one thing. I stayed in a hotel in Vegas where there was this mirror, and I felt very uncomfortable when I'm in the bed. So I basically hung my shirts off the mirror so it blocked everything out. Had a great stay, whatever. But then you look at other locations where you have mirrors and everybody's walking through that portal. So I blocked that portal out. That's me personally. And I think a lot of people out there will do exactly the same.
What, block it out?
Mm-hmm.
Right, Mark.
I was going to say, the obsidian mirrors, use as mirrors and use as scrying. I mean, the Native Americans, when it used to be land bridge, they used it. The so-called inverted commas giants in North America used them, and they were used as doorways. That's what I was trying to say. And also the other thing is, covering up a mirror is a superstition because of doorways, but it's also in hedge witchery as well. And you can use mirrors to amplify magic as well, which is quite dangerous because it takes a little piece of something else each time it gets magnified. But yeah.
Taylor?
See, I do know something.
Oh, I was just going to say that Terry Pratchett actually touches on this a bit as well, because all the witches in his books have to have their mirrors covered because the voices that come from them are too loud.
Exactly. So there's a whole mythology surrounding mirrors, isn't there, beyond the fact of our own selves. Things coming through the mirrors, or things coming through a reflective surface is very prevalent in this realm or this world we live in, this field we live in. I mean, Jay Lynch in America told me about an experiment that they were doing in 101. Was it Room 101? Or Cafe 101? Where they had like two mirrors back, like facing each other, and then the person would sit in the middle of these two mirrors, and it was like, I've always believed that when you do a scrying or something to do with mirrors, that you don't have it so you see your reflection. You have it so it's faced slightly different. So the reflection is, you don't see your own reflection in it.
Yeah.
That's how I scry. I don't see my reflection in it. But
you're supposed to look through the reflection, aren't you?
You're supposed beyond.
You're not supposed to focus on what you see. You're supposed to just try and tune out and chill out and whatever you want to call it. And you're supposed to be looking through and not focusing on the front of it. It's supposed to be just looking at the past what your eyes see.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what I have done once, and it's a form of scrying. You put your carry on novel back, this one. That's so probably. When you look in somebody else's eyes and you just sit there and you stare and you look through it until you start to see things.
So what you're saying is we're looking in each other's eyes as a reflection.
Yeah, exactly. And you use their eyes as a reflection, but because it's on a living soul, the theory is you see more in depth and you see more and more things.
Wasn't there a famous artist? I can't remember for the life of me the name, or a social experiment where she sat down and it was literally various people coming and sitting and then just staring into each other's eyes, and they found it a highly emotive experience, didn't they? Even the point of. I honestly, it was a lady who did the experiment, and she just sat at a table and people would sit opposite her, never spoke, literally just sat and stared at each other's in the eyes. And the emotions that it raised up in people, that connection to other people, was absolutely phenomenal. Now, to the point where one of her ex-boyfriends from many years ago actually came and sat opposite her, didn't speak, and they ended up both in floods of tears over this, without actually saying anything.
Yeah,
so
and it does work, yeah.
If you sit and stare at yourself in the mirror...
Marina Abramovich.
Thank you very much. Thank you, because I remember watching it. Well done, Taylor. Oh, good Googling there, live on air. But that experience of connection between yourself and another person, if you're doing that experiment, or how about yourself, staring at yourself and having that emotional connection to yourself in a mirror, is incredibly powerful. So take yourself beyond that step and then take yourself out of that equation and imagine yourself looking into another realm, another perspective through a mirror. How do you think that, do we think that's relevant, or do we think that's just a psychological thing?
I think it also depends on the state of mind, and a lot of factors with that, like sleepy, drug or alcohol, or something like that. Or I'll tell you another thing that I find works as well, and I use it to send me to set myself to sleep if I can't get to sleep. When your eyes are shut and you start to see all the weird sepia images on the inside of your eyelids, I start using that, but I'll find one of those sepia things, and I'll look at it, and I'll stare into that, and I find that puts me straight into like some sort of dreamlike state, and I'm seeing things and this, that, and the other. But I use that to send me to sleep. Is that a similar thing?
Well, I don't know. Let's look at that in a minute. Carl?
I struggle. I must admit, I do struggle with the whole sleep pattern. I've struggled for a long time. We're not talking recent times. We're talking going back to years. I'm not 100% sure what triggers me to fall asleep. Look at it, and the different things that would actually trigger it. But if I'm not doing that, I'm in that situation where I'm waking up when the world is awake.
I think it's something
I do struggle with when it comes to me waking up and me sleeping. I must admit, I will put my hand on my heart and scream it down to the world. I do struggle with the whole reality awake type of thing.
Okay.
You take a while to wake up.
Yeah.
Focus.
Yeah. I can be. I don't believe I can ever be in that situation where you're thinking you're doing this, that, and the other, but then you suddenly wake up and you realise potentially you've done certain personal movements.
Right.
Okay. Take it back a step to mirrors. Let's have a look at. Okay, let's look at C.S. Lewis. Through the Looking Glass. Alice, Through the Looking Glass?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Weird.
If Alice Through the Looking Glass, if you read it properly, and I mean properly look into it, it's although it's a very good story, they're talking about it's about opium as well and what happens when you've had that.
Okay, magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all?
But we could.
Drugs.
Can I just bounce
Aliens.
Back?
Alien.
Can I just bounce back to the Alice in Wonderland thing? Many people, including native people, I'm not really sure where from, do use drugs to open their minds to different realms.
Shamans.
So it would make sense if Alice was, looking through the Looking Glass, but she was on drugs to open her mind more.
The Looking Glass is your mind. You've had something like to open your mind.
Yeah,
when you've
so she's
opened your
looking
mind,
through it, innit?
you're looking through the Looking Glass. Yes.
Absolutely, Mark, and yeah, I agree 100%. There is when you look at a situation where your mind is being altered by certain drugs, whatever
Substances
or whatever you want to call it, you are going to be looking at different things, and like Mark said, and like everybody else has said, you're looking at everything else, and you are going to be thinking, I'm following the white rabbit, or I'm under the ground, I'm smaller than everybody else. So your mind believing that. Forget all that. Get the drug. The whole drug emphasis. I personally think there is dream factors of the whole.
So do we think that there's a mirror dream link?
I think it depends, really.
Take the substances out of it.
I think it's a dream thing.
You think it links your mind? So if you're scrying into a mirror, it links into your dream state?
No, I don't believe it's anything to do with the scrying. I believe it's when you go into a certain dream state, your brain then... Yeah, exactly, Mark. Your brain then all of a sudden goes into a lucid state or whatever state. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not a fucking scientist when it comes to that. But there's a point...
It's all right, you've already dropped the W word, so we can forgive the F.
I do apologise. I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up now.
No, it's fine. Absolutely fine. So, okay, so there are two concepts here. We've got... He's face palming right now, everybody. So there are two concepts on the table here, right? We've got mirrors as in a physical objects that you stare into and use in that way. And we've got the mirroring within our dream state of our own psychological status or our mirroring in reality. Because the amount of times we say somebody's behaviour mirrors what they feel rather than, what is going on. So we've got two very different concepts running side by side here, haven't we? How about when we use it... But how about when we use it in the paranormal field? Oh, hello. Don't clean your screen while we're on here, because that really isn't good. So, what about when we use it? They talk about the devil's box, isn't it? And that's basically four or five mirrors, one on the bottom and four sides, a devil's box, and then it bounces, right? Now, the skull experiment called something called the Alice experiment, which involved mirrors and a video camera. But the mirrors were supposed to be positioned so that they didn't actually reflect the person sitting between the two mirrors. Right? And some amazing phenomena was allegedly happened there. So that lends a... what does it do? Does it give us an idea of... Because this lends into the infinity. You know, we've seen the infinity mirrors where, you know, different mirrors like linking, and it's like the image upon an image, but behind it, reflecting an image, reflecting an image. So do we actually think it could be a portal? Do we think that mirrors could be a portal?
Okay, Carrie, the way you've explained it is these mirrors are pointing whatever. I think what we got to do when you're talking about the infinity mirror or the portal or any different way is when you look at the reflection of a mirror. So we have one mirror pointing directly at another mirror, and another mirror is picking up on that reflection slightly off, so it's going zigzag.
Yeah.
So you're zigzagging the image. And then all of a sudden you get to that point where you're trying to project that out into the ether. And I think that's the point. As long as you have direct access or direct pointals to those mirrors without any movement or judgment from anybody else, you are projecting the same image over and over again. Is that all right?
Yeah, infinity.
Yeah, exactly. So it's bang, 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 bang. It's like...
Exactly as Gary just said.
We're just doing this now. We're just slapping each other's hands now.
I can't suddenly just produce on a radio show how the image would do. I'm just going, it bounces, it bounces, it bounces, it bounces, it bounces. I can't just go, yeah, it projects it off an image, bang, 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 bang. Is that talk shite?
He's talked up. No, I'm sorry. It's got to be said because you have given me far too much information, far too much ammunition for this tonight. He's been talking about mirrors, beds, lots of bang, 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 and now he's doing this and slapping his hands like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, we all know what Mr. Carl does when he's on his own, and it involves a thing of moisturiser and a box of tissues.
And a mirror above his head, clearly.
In costume.
Anyway, going back to the concept is... Do we think, then, that the resonance of a mirror can open a portal? Do we think it's a relevant thing in the paranormal field? Or is it all just a psychological perception of ourselves reflecting back at ourselves?
But then with those things in the paranormal field, you could say, are they just psychological reflections of yourself?
Wow, we've actually got somebody.
I actually love this girl.
We've actually got somebody on the Dark Mirror show on a Friday night actually talking sense.
Excuse me? I bet I'm a little offended by that remark.
Excuse me? There's also what I've been going to say is, you know, when you were talking about when you go to sleep and you dream, or when you got lucid dreaming, or this, that, and the other, they say that when you dream about yourself in like a weird land doing this, that, and the other, you've linked to a different dimension. You know, the onion theory, when you each decision we make, they think that's a very similar thing, isn't it?
Exactly.
So your mind is can be used as a portal. So does that mean that you're using mirrors because you're using your mind? You're actually just having the mirrors amplify what's already there, your innate sense in your brain, and the mirror magnifying it.
Okay,
and
I want to put this out there to every listener and every possible will play this down or whatever. I'm talking about the thousands of listeners that are talking and listening on this show tonight. What is your views and you can put it in the comments in the chat room, or you can email us, you can post it to us, whatever. How do you feel? No, 2 seconds, Mark. How do you feel about sleeping?
Not with me.
When there is a mirror directly opposite where you're sleeping. I want people's opinions.
Okay.
I want people's opinions. We're not talking about sexual. We're not talking about shaggy, whatever. I'm talking about
llama, pig, bang.
Exactly. Boom, boom, boom.
Okay, move on from that. Yeah, carry on with the question.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, do you feel comfortable sleeping in an environment where there's a mirror pointing at you where you're sleeping? So people in the chat room, people listening, get in the chat room, get in the comment and come on this. Do you feel comfortable being a mirror pointing at you while you sleep? Let's see what happens.
I do not, personally, I don't like having a mirror at the bottom of my bed, purely because I've had that once before and I've woken up from a lucid dream. And you know yourself, when you wake up from a lucid dream, for about 30 seconds, you're not particularly with it. And I've sat up and looked and seen myself looking straight back at me, and I've I've gone mental and grabbed the baseball bat. So I don't like them because it freaks me out. No?
Kerry?
No. If you actually notice in my house, the only place I have a mirror is on my stairwell, a big mirror on my stairwell. The other mirrors are put like behind doors or behind a table or something. They're not, I don't have a lot of mirrors in my house.
This is the thing that fascinates me, because obviously we've got Mark, and Mark does Mark, but Kerry is the person we go to when we want to know about crystals, rocks, and when you want to talk to this, that, and the other, and that area. But when it comes to that, and it comes to reflection, whether it's crystal-wise, this, that, and the other, what's your views on it, really?
I personally don't like, I'm not particularly happy having, in my bedroom, I do have a full-length mirror, but it's behind the doorway. So where it's positioned is behind the doorway. So it's not. Yeah, it's not reflecting on any part of the room apart from it. Where I can't explain it, but where it is, it doesn't reflect on any part of the room. Yeah. So I have to literally stand in front of it.
Is that personally direction, or just the way the room's laid out?
No, that's a personal preference, because I could have had a mirror. If you look at the layout of the room, I could have had a mirror.
And the reason behind that?
Because I don't like it. I don't like that reflection.
And the reason behind that?
Because it's too painful.
We can talk for hours and hours of mirrors this way, and all the weird and wonderful and the naughty and this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, it's a personal point of view whether you like a mirror.
It is down to personal preference. I mean, personally, I do not like my reflection. That's that's personal. I don't like my reflection. I don't like my body. I'm not happy with that. I'm fine when I'm dressed, but I don't want to see it in any shape or form in any other way. So although my cupboards, they're dark, they're cranberry, they're a dark cranberry, it's very shiny dark cranberry, and I can get that highly reflective. It's a dull, it's a not
muted,
defined image. Yeah,
it's
almost like a silhouette. But
Kerry, I'm not talking about a defined image or the bobbing up and down or whatever we were talking about.
No, we're not talking sex.
We're
talking about personal perception.
Yeah, I'm talking about personal perception when it comes to the spirit world.
In regards to the spirit world, I will use. I personally prefer, my personal preference is the black obsidian. I've got a black obsidian scrying mirror, which I use for that kind of work. Which I don't see my reflection in it. I position it, and if I'm doing that kind of work, that will be my focus. That is where I talk through. But that is my belief system. The bottom line is it's a belief system.
No?
I do believe that there is a connection through a reflective surface.
I agree.
No, yeah, I totally agree with that. I personally myself don't do scrying, but as I say, I have in the past done the eye thing, and that really I won't even go into it on air, but
It's too
worked.
personal. It's too personal.
Yeah, it's on such a deep level, and I suggest if you're going to do that, do it with a family member or somebody you're close to, and don't say a bloody word. Literally sit back and you see what happens. That's all I'll say. But in regards to seeing scrying done, if I was to go along and see something done, I'd have to see it done on either oily water, black water, or obsidian, because using mirrors, proper mirrors, although it amplifies, reflects and bounces, because it reflects and bounces things, or that amplifies the innate nature of something, it takes away part of its soul, if you know what I mean. And also it's not a proper mirror because it has metal on the back of it to create the mirror. So in essence, when you're looking at a mirror or obsidian, it's a false mirror, if you see what I mean.
So maybe the reason that you guys prefer, black water, like Dad said, or obsidian, like you said, over mirrors is because they're natural, aren't they? Whereas mirrors are man-made. So you have more of a connection to the earth if you use something natural than you do with something that's man-made.
Boom! She just said what I was trying to say.
I'll tell
you what, Carrie. Maybe we should move Mark to the lower levels and bring the other voice.
Yeah, I know, right?
Taylor back in, Just put it out there.
Oh, I love how Mark's humour, though. I don't know if I could live without.
Oh, look at that face on the screen. It looks like somebody just slapped it with a fucking wet shower.
Aww. Anyway. So we kind of got the eyes of the mirrors to the soul. That's been said before. That's, really what we've been talking about is eyes of the mirrors to the soul. That, if you stare into someone's eyes, it's the most vulnerable position that you can be, isn't it? And then we've talked about scrying in regards to that connection with your deepest psychological perspective or your connection to your belief system. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we've touched briefly on the usage of mirrors in the paranormal field. Now let's go back into the paranormal field. The amount of times I see people using these tools in the paranormal field, do we think they're dangerous in that environment?
Carrie, you talk about using these tools in the paranormal field. What I think you need to explain a little bit more is what you mean by that, because using tools in the paranormal field is majorly open to so many different conversations.
Okay, so we're talking mirrors. So if you do the mirror experiment where you're sat between two mirrors, or you do a scrying experiment where you're using that in at the paranormal environment, or you use the box, the devil's box, which the mirrors conjoining in between each other, do we think that is? Do we think we're opening ourselves up in a way that is more vulnerable than other methods in the paranormal field?
Mark?
Can I speak, actually? Over that, sorry.
Be my guest.
Not necessarily. I don't think it would be a bad thing unless you're using it to connect to something that maybe you shouldn't be using it to connect to, or to see something that you shouldn't be using it to see.
What, like the dark web?
Like the dark web, but for paranormal. So, dark ghost.
Do you know what? When you think about it, scrying is the dark web for paranormal.
What?
Scrying is the dark web for paranormal. Because you can go along to group things and you'll be lucky if you see a few things. But if you sit at home and do properly scrying without other people and on your own, you'll see things, you might even see things you'll wish you hadn't seen. But personally, I think if you're good at scrying and you know what you're doing, and you've got people there who are used to it, have seen it, are comfortable around it, fine. But if you've got people there who've never seen it before, don't know what it's doing, I don't think you should be doing high-level scrying in front of it. You know, I really don't think that you should be seeing, oh, twerk it. Oh, I don't think you should be seeing high-level scrying to people. Don't know what they're doing. Anyway, Terry, what were you saying?
Oh my lordy lord! So anyway, oh my god! Oh, what people haven't seen at home is that we just had a very funny cat moment in the studio. Taylor, so let's get this back to some sense in the studio. What do you think? Do you think it's dangerous in the paranormal field? Because I missed all of that they said.
So I don't think necessarily. I don't think it's bad, because obviously it's, to me, it's just a deep sense of meditation, but through.
Do you know what else is deep?
Funny. Through seeing something, not, you relax yourself and you look through instead of look at.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Whereas if you have people that practice not the best, what's it called? What am I talking about?
Scrying.
No.
Farseeing.
Bad. Well, they do bad stuff, like to connect with the bad.
You're talking about what? She's talking the difference between light and dark.
Yeah. So if you use that for seeing bad things,
Yeah,
maybe you could be able to invite them in.
Yeah, but no, scrying is the same as anything slightly paranormal or magical or chi or anything like that. If you use it for if you're going to use it for bad, you're going to invite bad in.
Yeah.
But if you're going to use it for good, then the slight bit of bad might come in, but it doesn't really. So, and all sorts of magic and this, that, and the other. It doesn't change itself, but the person that uses it changes it to either
saying.
good or bad.
He said it better than me.
So it's about intention then, about how you go into your mirror usage.
Yeah.
Now, but then that brings up a whole different concept then, doesn't it, about intention. So whatever your intention is when you go out in the field, or whatever you use these spiritual terms for.
There's a cat there and you drink there, mate.
It's about intention, though, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what I think. Personally, that's what I think. If you go into it with bad intentions, you're going to get results.
Shall I just
leave the conversation? Is it intention or is it expectation? So is it intention or is it expectations? If you go into a paranormal location expecting good phenomena, do you tend to get it? Or if you go in going sceptical and go, oh, there ain't nothing here, it's a crap place, and I'm here to debunk it, right? What do we think?
Me personally, and I would say this, and that's only my opinion on it, is you don't go in either way. You can't go in deliberately thinking this is this or that's that, because you're going to go down routes you don't want to do.
That's exactly what we were saying. If the whole
I do apologise if I was a bit quiet, but whatever.
Choked on his drink, everybody, I think is...
Not choked on my drink, I'm just a little bit...
The whole concept of good and bad, everybody thinks you've got like bad people that do these things, like in the paranormal world.
It's yin and yang, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah. And it's not. Yeah, it's, you've got the how can I put it? I won't say magic, but you have the essence of whatever you're trying to do there anyway. But it depends on you as to whether you're going to use it for a good thing or use it for a bad thing. The same with scrying. If you want to look at something good, you will. If you want to look at something bad, you will. It's the person that does that and not.
And I think itself. That is the main key about the subject we're talking about. It's not about what you do in a certain relationship. Is if I'll give you two scenarios, you drill down to a certain point where you want to be good or bad. You're going to be good or bad, whether you're a bad person, this, that, and the other, or you're a good person, this, that, and the other. But then you look at another situation where you are opening up and inviting people in to talk to you or respect you, and then you flip that on the flip side where you are talking about people that are saying this, that, and the other, and trying to pull a negative point. You're doing two sides of the coin. So wherever you are from day 1 to day 2, good, bad, evil, immature, whatever you want to do, there's a straight line, but there's this thing that crosses that line every step of the way, bringing in good and bad. So it's like a straight line, and then all of a sudden there's this good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, and then behind that is a good, bad. There's cross movements over that line that is going to happen.
Well, it's like, I mean, this is completely nothing to do with mirrors, but somebody said a while ago, you know what I'm like about the aliens and Star Wars stuff. If you were a Jedi, which one would you be? And I've always said I'd be a grey one, because you've got good and bad, but I'd always cross the line either side just to get the main good thing done. And I think that's the same with a lot of stuff like that.
No, Mark, I disagree with that. I'd be the little dude behind the camera.
I'm totally confused.
Forget the greys, forget the little guys, forget the people that end up, and forget the people that are nicking off cows and whatever. I want to be the people behind it going, like laughing in their big lump, in their blue heads, whatever.
What's this got to do with mirrors and scrying and
about
the relevance in the film? Come on,
I think it's a lot to do with mirrors.
Because I am confused where we've gone with this.
Okay, right. I'll give you a scenario where I would say it brings in the mirrors. It's the whole thing about alien abductions, where people see things and imagine things. And they picture things.
Well, I'm normally the alien guy, but even I'm listening to this one. Go on.
I'm just saying, if you believe something and you're seeing something, so you're seeing ceilings, or you're seeing this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. If you drill down and you look at people, potentially, you're looking at a reflection. So it's a mirror image.
So in essence...
If that makes more sense. So either way, it's a mirror image of what you think, and you then judge from the image, and you produce your own facts from that image. I'm not saying that's true. I'm just giving you a scenario that potentially could be fact.
So do you think then that life or mirrors or that kind of perception mirrors your belief system?
I believe that you go through life, things happen, forget your mirrors, because I think personally your life changes to what you think, do, react to, but you see your possibilities that potentially you could have gone that way if you were that way inclined.
Now we're talking sliding mirror theory.
Yeah. That's all. Everything I've just said tonight. It's all about the sliding movement.
So it's like what I said earlier about the dreams that connects you to other yous. And what you're trying is, in essence, sometimes when you scry, although you've got people looking for good stuff, you've got people looking for bad stuff, you've got Joe Blogs like myself and Taylor and Lynn's here who will just do it, and they'll see possibly a reflection of what they want.
Absolutely. Or I'll give you the scenario. You could be looking through a mirror in a... let me try and think of something. You look through a mirror, you're scrying against a black mirror in a location in the middle of nowhere, say in South Yorkshire. It's an abandoned monastery. So you're looking there, you're looking through that mirror, you don't see anything. But then all of a sudden you look at something else, and then you're seeing the monastery and blah, blah, blah. And then it just goes bang, 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 bang. And at some point you're looking through 3 or 4 or 5 different dimensions at the same point.
So, in theory, could this be where deja vu comes from?
Of course, yeah. Of course deja vu comes from.
Oh, interesting concept.
Interesting. It is interesting because the sliding door theory is actually... Well, there was a famous film about it, wasn't there? Like, make a different decision, or you step on a train at a different time, or decide not to step on a train. You know what I mean? What would have happened if you had and then we go into, we go into a whole different concept. Don't
Yeah,
we?
but
Which
even
I actually
though-
think takes us away from.
No, it doesn't. No, it
I
doesn't.
kind of think it does, though.
It doesn't, because you're asking the question whether you look into the mirror or you don't look into the mirror. You look into the mirror, you see something. You don't look into the mirror, or you look into the mirror but you're not focusing, and you see something that just is a split second out of something else. So it's to do with time and motion. So it depends on when you look at that particular, what you're looking at, whether it's there. If you look at it a second later, it's going to be there, but a second later, if you look at it again, but you're 2 seconds later, or 5 seconds, 15 seconds, you're getting that image that is behind it. So as a person, if I say, I tell you what, just for the people listening, if I'm going to say, right, I'm going to look at Kerry, I'm going to see Kerry now. So from that moment, I say I'm focusing on Kerry. My brain goes, click. I can't click, but whatever. There's a click going on. Click, click, click. Whatever. I can't click because my fingers aren't clicking. But my brain goes, click, Kerry. Say, forget everything else, but then 15 seconds later, 15 seconds is nothing. My brain is going to look at Kerry and look at Kerry in a different way. So what's saying your image-wise, because it's the eyes, is not doing exactly the same.
Kerry?
Gee, I'm sorry. Have I confused people?
I'm a little.
Or have I talked rubbish?
Well, sounds like the same thing when they say every time you look in the mirror and you see yourself slightly different each time.
We all see and hear ourselves slightly differently anyway.
Yeah,
when
yeah.
we look
Well,
in the mirror,
it has to be, because at the end of the day, you look at a star in the sky. You're looking at a star in the sky, which is potentially not there reality-wise.
yeah, because the light's millions of
If you look at somebody in reality, is that now or is that seconds before?
The way to tell, touch them. Get your finger, just touch them. Give them a poke, and don't get arrested for it. And just go, whoop, and then go, no, don't do that to yourself, Carl.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just got confused.
Just touch them, and if they're standing, if you can feel them, I'd say that they're definitely there.
But I
Well,
like
what I would suggest we do that next time the dark mirror party happens, we touch each other and see who reacts first.
Yeah, you get retouched. You can fucking smack on the nose, mate. I'm very confused right now because we started off looking at the concept of a basic mirror, a basic silverback mirror kind of scenario, and we've gone down into a whole different rabbit hole of discussion that I didn't think this discussion would go, but I kind of get it. I kind of understand why this concept of mirrors is a lot, and excuse the pun, deeper than anticipated. It is an incredibly personal experience. It puts you in an incredibly vulnerable position. The belief systems behind mirrors, that goes back aeons. It doesn't go back since the silverback mirrors come along. It's been, people have used mirrors in many shapes and forms throughout the years and cultures, from polished obsidian to polished metals to the modern day mirrors that we know and love today, the silvering process that came in actually via Germany, I'd just like to say. But, it is an incredibly interesting concept. We look at mirrors of the soul, eyes being the mirrors of the soul. It's in our culture, it's in our media. When we look at it, Alice Through the Looking Glass, we've looked at Terry Pratchett, we've looked at, even scrying was in Pride and Prejudice. You know what I mean? So many things, you know, even down to mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. You know what I mean? Mirrors are incredibly important in this day and age, even to this day. But are they paranormal? Do we think they have a paranormal connotation to them? Or is it purely psychological? That's $1 million question.
That is $1 million question. And Mark, I'm just thinking, and my brain's going bubble, 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 toil and trouble. Mark, what's your thoughts first? Because my brain's going to go.
I was going to say, you can say your thoughts in a second. I was going to say that, you know, when I said earlier that everybody has that ability inside them anyway, and the mirrors just magnify it, expand it. I think that personally, that's why way back when originally black water and obsidian was useful. And I do think it works, but I think you get out of it what you want and what you put into it. What are you saying?
I think, personally, I don't think it's paranormal, because there's so much stuff that goes into it for you to see something. Like, you have to not concentrate, but concentrate, and you have to look through, and you have to relax your mind, and you have to do so much stuff to prepare yourself to actually see something. Is it not just psychological, and you've gone, right, I've done all this, I must see something now?
Well, then explain, like I was talking about earlier, when you nod off and go to sleep, because you're not preparing yourself for that. You literally just focus on something.
Yeah, but you have a relaxed brain, don't you? So you can, it's the same as meditation.
See, I feel the same way. I feel it's a connection to your most innermost subconscious that, you know, that's what I think mirrors are. They open up that vulnerability and doorway to your innermost subconscious. That's how I see a mirror. And it's whether or not you're prepared to have that level of self-honesty with yourself.
Yeah.
What the hell? I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Carl Hutchinson is eating the strings off his hoodie and choking like a cat with a hairball.
I was just waiting for somebody to go, and Carl. Thank you very much. I personally think you're right. I think somewhere it's a deep down yeah, I personally think it's a personal point of view. I don't think you can control it. I think somewhere along the line, what you think is your own body, because your own body reacts to different things. And yes, I do believe at some point, if your body reacts to a certain environment, your body is going to react in that certain environment.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Taylor, last words?
I think you put in what you expect to take out.
That's what I said. Yeah. Yeah. You get out of it what you put in.
Yeah.
I do think it does open doorways, whether it's to your own self-conscious or whether it's to something else, who knows. But it does open doorways, but we just don't know which ones. Carl's going to take on table again. Carl, back to you.
Interesting concepts on the table tonight. And we've kind of gone around down avenues that I never even thought we would go down, quite honestly, with mirrors. But that's the whole point, isn't it? Going round and talking. That's the whole point, is talking the discussions. Anyway, it's been a bit of a hodgepodge week on Parasearch this week. We've had a lot of illnesses, so get well soon to the people out there who are poorly. My lovely Penny, my lovely Sam have been poorly this week. And my lovely Jane as well. Jane has been poorly this week, so hopefully everyone will be back to normal. All I'm saying is this winter there has been some heck of a bug going round that people keep getting and then thinking they're better, and then it keeps coming back and biting them on the arse. Is all I'm saying. And so take care. If you've had it, self-care is not selfish. Just remember that, everybody. On that note, don't forget to join me 9 p.m. on Sunday evening. I've got the lovely Jamie Crashnet in the studio. We're talking all things excommunication. On that note,
Jamie's awesome.
She is absolutely awesome. On that note, guys, have a great bands night tomorrow. And happy Chinese New Year tomorrow.
I'm not going to do the Chinese. I'm not going to go the Chinese New Year. Last year I was in the kilt. I will be probably at some point this weekend letting the air get to the Scottish routine. So just for the hell of it. But yeah, great happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year and everybody else and all that malarkey and Japanese, Indian, malarkey, whatever.
Indian, Chinese.
Ching out. La, 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 la.
Anyway, don't forget, 9 p.m. Sunday evening, join me live in the studio with Jamie Crashner talking all things excommunication. And on that note, don't forget, everybody, we have a book out, the Book of Parasearch. Is available worldwide to buy on Amazon. It is a collection of all the blogs the Parasearch presenters have written. There is even, unseen, unpublished work in there as well. So go over to amazon.co.uk or amazon.com and buy your copy now. It's an absolute steal for $7.99. The Book of Parasearch. Don't forget, it is an absolutely amazing book, everybody. You want to get that one for your bookshelves.
It has everything.
It has everything in it. It has crypto in it. It has aliens. It has concepts. It has theories. It has facts. It has history. It has just about everything you could want. On that note, say goodnight, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Linz.
Bye.
And for me,
Love you a long time. $20.
I would just say thank you very much.
Get
Welcome. Good evening. Love you.
In.
Yeah. Forget the twat that's talking in the background. I'm just going to say good night, people. And we'll be here next Friday, 9:00 on the network. Good night. Good night.
Thank you for listening.
Nice.
Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.